All right, well, let's get into this Kyrie Irving thing. Now, Rob, this is stunning. All right, we got the sound. This is Kyrie on Kevin Durant's new podcast, actually the first episode of the podcast. Here's Kyrie on Steve Nash and the head coach.
We don't need somebody to come in and put their coaching philosophy on everything that we're doing and change up the wheel and, you guys need to start doing this. And we start running on the first day of practice. It's just like, no, I don't really see us having a head coach. You know what I mean? Like KD could be a head coach. I could be a head coach.
Jacques Vaughn could do it one day. It's a collaborative effort, I think, on our part.
What? I mean, look, I've defended Kyrie. We both have, Rob. I had no problem with the stuff he was saying during the lockdown and
he was
shutdown.
right.
Yeah, I give Kyrie credit for that. And I will say this, I give him credit for speaking his mind. And what he said about, we'll get to that later, what he said about LeBron and taking the last shot and all that. But come on. Everything needs a leader. Rob and I, this is our show, right? But we have to answer to somebody. They're not dictators, but you answer to somebody.
Wait a minute, Scott Shapiro on line one. Hello?
I'm telling you, Rob, if I'm Steve Nash and I hear that, I mean, come on. We don't need a coach to come in and put his philosophy on. That's exactly what you need. That's what Steve Kerr did. That's what Phil Jackson did with the triangle and Michael Jordan. That's what Pat Riley has always done. That's what Greg Popovich does. That's what Philadelphia is looking for Doc Rivers to do. What? I mean, and on everything that we're doing and try to change up the wheel. What is the wheel? Kyrie didn't even play but 20 games last year. Kevin Durant's never played with these guys. You don't have a philosophy yet. You don't have a wheel yet. You need this sounds like we at the Y and we about to run against the brothers from across town. Rob, look, they are going to be, I'd even say, Rob, by far, the most talented team in the Eastern Conference. And that goes, obviously, they got the two superstars in KD and Kyrie, and they're going to have really good role players. And even, Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie, those guys can score the ball. But it takes more than talent to win big. And I don't like this philosophy. And KD, obviously an all-time great player. And I mean all-time top 15.
He signed off on
that.
it. It's not just
right,
Kyrie.
Well, that's the thing. KD's not a leader. And he did sign off. Kyrie's a stronger personality.
I mean,
so
he clearly signed off on it.
Yes.
He just said, because when he brought up Jacques Vaughn, right, who was the interim,
what?
I mean, that was like right away. Jacques Vaughn could do that.
There's
there's
no difference between Steve Nash and Jacques Vaughn? There's no difference between the play. And I get it. And we had James Posey on last hour, Rob. And we know LeBron has say here and there. And, obviously you want to hear input from your best player, particularly if they're a smart basketball player. But you still got to respect the head coach. And there were times when, Phil Jackson had to say, this is what we're going to do. Or Pat Riley, obviously, this is what we're going to do. And I just think I don't like it, Rob. I don't know where you're at on it. But.
Well, all along, the NBA's always been called a player's league,
right.
not a coach, right? Would you agree with me on that?
Yes. And like I said, players can have some input, but I think this just went a little too far.
It's a players' league,
yes.
So it always has been. Players have to buy it. I mean, coaches have to give a little bit. We saw that even with Phil Jackson and the documentary.
Right.
When he let Dennis Rodman go to Las Vegas during the season.
Yep.
Now, Chris, he made a special Anybody else, if you were Joe Blow on the bench, you would have been released, okay? That you want to go to Vegas. Am I right?
No, you're right. You're right.
So
you make concessions.
You make concessions because you know how good people are and how hard. Unfortunately, there are not that many people, despite the 330 million people in the United States, Chris, who are walking around good enough to play in the NBA. I know it sounds crazy because there's only 400 jobs, but do you know what I mean?
Right.
So these guys have a lot of power. I just think this is, again, more talk than anything. I just think that this is where the kids are today, outside the box, always thinking about doing something. And I'm reaching here, so I'm telling you ahead of time. We always had vaccinations. We're not taking any vaccinations, even if it's going to stop the coronavirus. Nobody's sticking me. Do you know what I mean, Chris? Like, this is where we are. I know it sounds crazy, but this is where we are in this world, and I think you have more independent thinkers, more people who don't want to conform, more people who don't want to follow authority.
You're right about that.
I just think I really believe that's where we are.
That don't mean it's right.
I didn't say that. I did not say that.
Unlimited numbers of genders, according to some people.
But am I right about but am I right about just the mindset of some people, the kids today? So
here's what I want to ask.
This fits in. This fits in.
But is this a good, healthy mentality?
Of course not.
For a basketball team.
Of course not. But again, is it about if those guys come on the court and perform? Now, Chris.
No, if they ball.
Right. Here's the issue. Okay. If you are totally disrespectful, Steve Nash tells a player to go in or come out or whatever, and this is during the game, and they say, I'm not coming out. You know what I mean? Or something of that ilk, then you got a problem. Because ultimately, you're right. There's got to be somebody to drive the ship in the huddle. Have that conversation. This is what we're trying to do. And you know this. Everybody's not always on board. We saw Scottie Pippen,
Jordan
a
did
great
not
player.
want to run the triangle.
Yep, and he bought into it.
We know that. That's a legend, right?
Scottie Pippen didn't like the play that Phil Jackson set up for Tony Kukoc.
Yep.
Didn't go in the game.
Yep.
How many players did not go in the game?
Yep. Regretted it obviously at the end, but yeah.
Right?
Now this and here's what Kyrie
But
is
you get
doing.
what I'm making. I'm not making an excuse.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the mindset of
some millennials. Yeah. Yeah. But what Kyrie's doing is and he's a great player. If he stays healthy, he'll be a Hall of Famer. But what he's putting on himself is you better win. You better win. Because, and I don't know that onus was on him when he left Cleveland because we've talked about it a number of times, Rob. Very few small point guards, normal size point guards have led teams to championships. Only 3. Gus Williams in Seattle, Isaiah Thomas in Detroit, and Steph Curry in Golden State. So if Kyrie didn't win another championship, nobody was going to be like, oh, he wasn't that good. As long as he, had good teams and was in the hunt and all that. But when you say things like this, you're making people going to be like, man, you better go out and win, talking all this. And the track record without LeBron isn't really there. Obviously, Boston, he struggled mightily. They went to the Game 7 of the conference finals the year before when he was hurt. And then when he comes back, they get trounced. And Kyrie didn't play well.
But I remember when he first got there and was hurt. Hayward, you remember they got off to an unbelievable start? You remember that? When they first got to Boston. And I don't know what it was, Chris. Were they 17-1 or? No, it went south.
They got
but
off
I'm just
to a good start.
It was ridiculous. And then, because that was without Hayward, and then things just turned in Boston. But you're right. At some point, you got to put up.
Yeah, this will be interesting. I'll tell you what, if I'm Steve Nash, he going to have to be a man and go in there and, do his thing. But I don't like seeing those quotes if I'm Steve Nash. All right, here we go. Do you agree with Kyrie and KD that coaching should be a collaborative effort? Do you think they can win a title with that mentality? It's your turn to weigh in with Chris and Rob.
All right, let's start with Ron in New York. You're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Ron?
Hey, good evening, guys. Thanks for taking the call. I'm
doubt.
going to hit you with a quote of one of the best to ever do it as far as coaches go, and that's Bill Belichick. And he says, the greatest ability is availability. And the only consistent thing with Kyrie is he's consistently unavailable. So if you don't need a coach, you damn sure need a trainer. Are they going to allow trainers to come in and work with these guys? You need to produce consistently. You don't have to win championships necessarily, but produce consistently. In this era of load management, when you can't just be available for your team consistently, I don't think you can pop off with statements like this.
That's a good comment because it's undeniable, Rob. I mean, Kyrie's just been banged up a large part of his career.
My only pushback is he played 11 games in college, was banged up, and they drafted him first overall.
Well, nobody's denying that he's great, but he's hurt a lot.
No, but if it's all about availability, he wouldn't have been the first pick in the NBA draft because they know
Sure he would have.
there's talent. Well, but he was hurt, Chris. And,
No, but
and
you still got to play at some point. That's what you're saying. Nobody.
I understand
if I saw a kid couldn't, if he was hurt in college, but you're not foreseeing he's going to be hurt, most of his career.
Well, but he was hurt in college, and people took it. All I'm saying is, you're expecting something. Okay, you buy a tomato.
It wasn't like he was hurt every year.
You buy a tomato that was bruised, and then when you get home, you're shocked that it's rotten on the inside. You can't.
That's a little. No, come on. It wasn't like he played 3 years and every year he.
No, but he was drafted after playing 11 games in college.
He should have been.
That's all
He's a great player.
All right, then that's what you have to accept. All right, let's go with Danny in Bakersfield. You're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Danny?
Hey, fellas. Happy almost Friday.
Yes.
Yep. Hey, I was calling. I want to answer the question with the question. And my question is, would KD and Kyrie feel this way and say what they're saying if they had a coach stepping in that had, a bigger background, a Doc Rivers or a Gentry or something like that? Would they have the same kind of point of view?
But that's a great question, Danny, because they're getting a guy who's never been a coach at any level.
Right.
And even though, right, and they could say, well, we know as much as him. We played in the NBA too. We even achieved more than Steve Nash has in the NBA. I'm not justifying it.
He hasn't.
Steve Nash never won anything. He won 2 MVPs back to back. Right? So, Danny, your question is well taken. It really is.
Well, and I tell you what, if your question is actually hitting at some truth, then, and only Kyrie and KD know this, then that's going to be a problem. Because it was, and I don't think they meant to disrespect Steve Nash, because I really do think they respect him and they like him, and they had, obviously they signed off on him. But it was disrespectful to Steve Nash. To say I don't really look at it like we have a head coach, well, that's he's the head coach. That's his title. And if Spencer Dinwiddie or Karis LeVert or Joe Harris or somebody said, I don't really think we have superstars. We all just one team. Nobody's better than anybody else. I might shine one game. Kyrie might shine another. Karis might shine another. KD might get his one night. You would be like, dude, we're the stars. And this was disrespectful to Steve Nash. Again, I don't think they meant it that way, but it was.
Mark in Virginia, you're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Mark?
Finally got through. God, I'm
what?
bowing over.
Congratulations.
Hey, Mark. How long have you been trying to get through, Mark?
Well, I was on your other call too about the GOAT and Anthony Davis and all that. And my God, I was stunned. But I was walking across the garage, and I thought you guys were punking me when you talk about this collaborative effort. I'll tell you, Kyrie's got too much time on his hands. Oh, that's right, he's injured again. Of course, he's got a lot of time on his hands. He should be going to the Antonio Brown School of self-realization. I'll tell you, this is maddening when you think about it. Collaborative effort, yeah. Have them sit down with Bill Belichick or the late Vince Lombardi and talk about collaborative. I'll say this: if you have a collaborative effort and that coach is fired, get rid of them.